All right, from yesterday, when it comes to animals that do perhaps grazing, what would be an example of an animal that grazes? Okay, so are they gnawers or browsers? So why would you consider them browsers? Okay, in other words, they move from one place to another, or one point to another. If you want to look at it that way, that would be correct. So if those are the browsers, who are the gnawers then? Yeah, little rodents, and they can actually be underground. So what are they gnawing on? Okay, it could be root systems. That's right. So one one aspect when it comes to the mammalian jaw, how might the feeding of mammals be different than that of their reptilian predecessors or who came before them? Which one grinds up their food? Okay, so if that's the case, which it is, how's that possible? Okay, reptiles don't have molars? Can you give me an example then? Yeah, they're conical shaped. So there really are no reptiles that have molars for different types of reasons. And one of the things we've talked about when it's true with a lot of reptiles, when can their jaw really open wide? Reptiles. Yes. Can mammals open their jaws as wide? No, because there's really no need to, because when we look at the mammalian design, they're more so suited to just take bites upon needed, where, like we talked about, you'd mentioned the Komodo dragon or crocodiles and alligators. Those are conical type teeth that are just meant to hold on. It's a rudimentary type of chewing where they don't have especially with snakes, they do not have a single jawbone. Like when we say single, they've got a jawbone, but when we say single, it's all meshed into one or one structure for mammals. Okay, where reptiles, they do not have that type of a design because they're not really meant or designed to chew because they will swallow their prey item whole. All right. So moving forward then. Okay. I think this is about where we've left off. And then at the end, I will hand out this paper, which is due a week from tomorrow then. And on Thursday, you also have an evaluation over the first page, okay, of your, what I want to say, your vocabulary terms. Okay, so we talked about this already, the browsers, cattle, horses, deer, any one of those. You can be a little more specific. You'd say buffalo, bison, water buffalo, Cape water buffalo, any one of those. They're members of the bovine family. Of course, zebras, horses are members of the equine family. And then there's many different types of members of the deer family. Okay. Then, as we said, rabbits, hares, okay, are animals that would just gnaw at different types. I said roots, didn't I? That would be incorrect. It has to be above ground. Okay? So, moving forward. So this top point, it says, in herbivores, canines are reduced or absent. Why would that be? Think about that as you're writing some of this content down. So why would this be the case? Why are canines absent or reduced or just not even there at all in animals that are herbivores? So first of all, think of an animal that's an herbivore. I'm sorry, repeat that again. Right, right, right. So would it be logical to say that nature selected them to get rid of those teeth? These here? Right, so there's no need to do that, okay? Excuse me. Okay. So if this is the function of these molars, which it is, would it be an advantage to have more of them? Must be, because if they lost their canines, they've got more molars to grind their different types of plant organisms that are in their diet. But why does it say feed continuously? Okay. Now we're not talking about domesticated cattle, okay? Because those for us as humans, we typically take care of them. Yeah, they probably do feed continuously, but not for the reasons that we want to look at animals in the wild. So that doesn't answer the question. Why do they feed continuously?
Because if they only eat plants, that's like not like plants are pretty heavy. Like when they eat, like let's say carnivores, they eat meat. That's a lot heavier in them. Because like those plants are so light that they got to ingest a pretty large amount.
Okay.
To survive with their nutrients and such.
Right. And what did you say?
They need to have the energy from the plants, and they don't get as much as they would from meat.
Right, because when we say feed continuously, they need to keep shoveling that in because the nutritional value of these plants just is not very high. One of the, I don't know, it would be tough for myself to say I'm totally going to be a vegetarian slash or even vegan or something to that effect. That's just those who choose that, okay, that's certainly their choice. No one will fault them for that. But what would be easier to digest, plants or animals? Well, now, let's not say animals, let's say proteins, because that's what you would be consuming from animals. Whether, like, for instance, not so much today, but tomorrow with the hamburgers, okay? What are you consuming when we think of hamburgers? Well, right. Okay, it would be a protein-based diet. So with that, what is easier to digest? Starches from plants or proteins from animals? Which one do you need to take more in to get a nutritional value for? You need more protein than starch? It's very hard to digest, that's right. So that's why you got to take more of it in, and proteins from animals is much easier to digest then. And that's why when we look at these animals, they have to feed continuously because the nutritional value that they get just is not very, very much. Okay. All right. This is one of the aspects you probably would not know about this until because you were not ever taught that. This aspect right here. So what can you conclude from this? Is the organism, in other words, the deer or the elk or the buffalo, any one of those, what what can you presume for that? Are those animals breaking this content down, or is something doing it for them? Exactly, and what would that be? What does it tell you?
Cellulose and release fatty acids.
But yes, the animal's not breaking the plant materials of starch down to its associated periods, but what's doing it for them?
The root.
That's where it takes place. The bacteria will break down cellulose and release these fatty acids because animals don't have the enzymes to break this content down, at least not the mammals that we're discussing. Now, you might think, well, what about us as humans? Well, we have the ability to break it down. It's just really tough for us to absorb those types of nutrients. But for some reason, nature had selected these animals to just have bacteria do that for them. And who's to say, of course I'm not an expert in this, that we know that we've got bacteria inside of our intestines, and maybe it's such an aspect that they produce enzymes that break down these materials for us. Because again, this is such a tough substance to break down. Okay. Want to go, where does that put us? Feeding, specializations. I didn't think we were ever going to get out of there. Okay, so we'll break parts of this in half then. So now, we're talking about bovine, or animals that have a four-chambered stomach. We want you to know this and the structure it is, and in the correct order, and what is happening inside of these chambers. Okay? So we have not hit the true stomach yet in these bovine. Now, for anyone who's ever been on a farm or observed, even we just use domesticated cattle in this instance, when we're talking about these small bolus materials, see, there is another way of looking at this. What happens is, does it look like cattle are always what looks like chewing in their mouth? Yes, okay? And what I would be led to believe is the idea that these small bolus substances, like this here, they're too large to move on to the omasum. Then I believe it's the abomasum, then the reticulum after that. But what happens is they continually break that down. In other words, just like us with your hot dogs, you chew maybe until you feel comfortable, then you swallow it. While we don't have to continually chew that because it can move just fine through our stomachs, but in this case, what these animals do, these might be too large, so they regurgitate it, chew it on some more, swallow it, and just goes in a continual cycle until it's small enough to pass on to the omasum then. And we're still not into the true stomach yet. The true stomach, I would be led to believe, is the abomasum, where a lot of the acid is released. Now, these microbial products are going to be the enzymes that break this substances down, okay? But then it's going to be absorbed later on down the digestive tract. So yes, the true stomach here, okay? So normal digestion takes place here, is where it's initiated, and it continues to move on down through its intestines. So one structure we want you to add on here is called the reticulum. Okay, goes from the rumen to the omasum, the abomasum, then the reticulum, and then moves on to the intestines. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I see we're up to, it'll be 17 minutes by the time we're done with this. I'll go ahead and hand out these papers, okay? And it has the orders of mammals on here as well. And we're probably familiar with them from the biology class. I believe was more so of a matching section for that. So what you can or would do is, I think it's a set of blue boxes in the mammalian chapter, okay? Because some of these editions are different. As you're aware, you've got the 5th edition. Sometimes I just use this as a reference. This is the 2nd edition. I mean, as you can see, you have the elephant on here and the chameleon on this book. But what you would do then is find the mammalian chapter, and then it should have, I guess it's not a box that's all blue, but it has these animals here that you would see that has the orders on there, and it says chapter 20. It's on page 478 is where it would start, and then you can use that as a resource, page 478.
My grandpa has an aortic aneurysm. And then yesterday, so it's an aortic aneurysm.
Okay, just hold that thought. We'll, okay, so there's some information for you. These papers are due a week from tomorrow on the 10th, and vocabulary evaluation on the 4th or Thursday. Tune in next time.